it sounds like the Jays are just waiting to return to Toronto, and they're going to come back, and at the very least, they're going to have summer training here over the next couple of weeks, and likely stay at the Dome and stay at the hotel, which is connected, obviously, to the Rogers Center, and allow them to kind of quarantine within the bubble and still work out. And I'm sure that is doable. But beyond that, nothing is official yet. I guess the federal government's going to have to sign off on the idea of the Blue Jays actually playing games here, which means teams from the States are coming up, right? Like the Yankees are coming up.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think people, in an effort to find normalcy and also understanding that, athletes in their jobs will have access to testing at a far greater clip, not taking away from the public, but providing their own testing that doesn't affect the public health and safety, and so that they can stay together and not really pose much of a risk to the general public, to themselves perhaps, but to the general public not likely. And I think that's why they're okay with the idea of a hub city here, because all those guys will be off on their own and they won't really get around you if they are in the city. And that's why they'd be okay with the Jays having their summer training camp here as well, because you can literally go from your room to the elevator down to the field. Like, that's how it works at the Dome. So, but what I don't think people will be okay with, and I don't see how you get around it, is teams coming in here, because the whole idea is that when the hockey teams get up here for the hub, wherever they go, they'll be tested every day. And for 2 weeks, which is the quarantine period, they will not leave the bubble. Maybe afterwards they test every day and they're testing negative, they might be able to walk around in the streets because that's like a general citizen.
Like anyone else.
But for 2 weeks, they will go through the protocol that they have to go through, that everybody has to go through while getting tested, and will not put anyone at risk. That's not going to happen for baseball players. They come in for a 3 or 4 game series. They're not here for 2 weeks. They're here for 96 hours. And how is that going to work? How, are they also going to stay in the Dome Hotel?
Well,
how are they going to get back and forth? They won't all stay in their rooms. We know that. So this is where it becomes way stickier. And I think I read that Ford seems to be okay with it, waiting for the federal government to sign off. But it's different. It's not the same as the Jays having their camp here or the NHL having hub cities here. Not because I like hockey more than baseball. It's because they don't have the timeline to follow the rules when teams are coming in and out.
Well, there's a lot to break down here. Furthermore, the hub city, the important element of it is when the teams get here, they're not going back to Florida and then coming up again, right? They're not going down to New York and then 2 weeks later coming back. That's out. Like, once they get here, they're here. So this is a totally different situation, because you're dealing with teams flying in from New York, Tampa flying in from Tampa, right? Like, they're going to be playing teams in the East. So Miami's going to be coming up here. Philly's going to be coming up here. The Mets are going to be coming up here. So it's a totally different situation. I think what has to happen here is, if it's going to get to this point, and I think it will, because peer pressure is a you-know-what, and I think the Canadian government's going to be like, we don't want to be the only one that doesn't allow it. Everyone else is allowing it. Every other jurisdiction, whether it's the city, the state, the country, whatever, I think peer pressure and this idea of being inclusive will factor into their decision to allow for it. And they may look at it as a sign of weakness if they don't. I would say
it would factor into Vancouver's.
I would say, but I would say it would be a sign of strength.
Said, no.
It would be a sign of strength if the federal government came out and said, no, you're not playing here.
Yes.
That would say we're putting our Canadian people in front of a sports league or a 60-game season. But I think they're going to look at it the opposite way and say it would be a sign of weakness by not allowing it, so they're going to let it happen. But what they better do is they better tell Major League Baseball and the Blue Jays and the 9 other teams that are going to come up here that wrap up the AL East and the NL East, if we find out one infraction, you're out. Like, that better come with a serious message from Trudeau, Ford, Tory. In other words, if let's use the Yankees. The Yankees fly up and we catch Aaron Judge at Trinity Bellwoods cruising around, we're done. Like, it's shut down. You're out. Because you have to put together some – and I would think that should be happening really throughout baseball. Right? Like, you should be telling your teams, when we fly down to Tampa, boys, we're not going to the beach. Like, it's a business trip. And it's more so than ever before because of the circumstances and what's going on.
Can they go to restaurants? Can they, like, that's what I want to know. Like, I get, like, don't go to the clubs or to a bar, which won't be even be open anyways. But can they go to a restaurant? Can they walk through the park? And my answer is no, because when I come back from the States, I can't.
Exactly.
And so I don't know why you can.
And what I will say, what helps the situation right now for the Canadian government, the province, the city, is testing is not an issue anymore. Like, our province is testing 25, 27, 30,000 tests a day. This is not a situation where we only have 5,000 tests, and how dare you use these up on athletes or on personnel or coaches or managers. That ship has sailed. Like, people I don't think are going to be concerned about taking tests away and giving them to athletes, because we're testing. Like,
that's not an issue.
The testing has exploded here. That's not an issue anymore. And I think that's a big hurdle that they've probably overcome here in terms of PR.